This is Haro, Spain, capital of Rioja. One small town, some of the greatest wineries on earth. Here's why and where you need to go. If you're planning a trip to Spain and you enjoy wine, there's one town you absolutely cannot skip. It's called Haro. It's the capital of the world-famous Rioja wine region, and it's one of the great wine destinations in the world. In this video, I'll reveal some of the very best wineries to visit while you're in Haro. And be sure to stick around until the end, because I'll provide a few travel tips as well. But first, a quick overview of Rioja is instructive. Rioja is located in north-central Spain, and it's been a source for world-class wine for more than 150 years. Haro is one of my favorite places to go wine tasting because once you're there, it's extremely easy to get around. I'm staying in a hotel that's right off the square, which is a fantastic location if you want to visit Rioja. Most of the wineries are within walking distance. This is so because these producers all chose to be located in the Haro Station district for strategic reasons, so it'd be easier to ship their products by train. The heart and soul of Rioja wine is Tempranillo, one of Spain's noble grapes. Typically you'll find that it's blended with smaller amounts of Garnacha, Graciano, and Mizuelo, which is also known as Carignan in other parts of the world. One of the things I like most about Rioja wine is the extended maturation that many of the wines undergo before they're released. On the labels, you'll often see names like Crianza, Reserva, and Gran Reserva, which give you some information regarding the length of the maturation before release. For example, Gran Reservas have to age a minimum of 5 years before they're released, although many quality-minded producers choose to age their wines 8, 9, 10 years or even more before they finally release their wines. As a result, the wines are ready to enjoy immediately after you buy them off the shelf, although there's certainly no rush as many of the Gran Reservas and Reservas are capable of aging for a long time as well. If you prefer white wine or rosé, you should also be able to find some examples of those wines that you enjoy, as both categories are gaining in popularity. White Rioja, in particular, can be extremely impressive and is almost criminally underappreciated outside of Spain. With that by way of background, I'm ready to reveal the best wineries to visit in Haro. These are all wineries located in the historic Station District that are all within easy walking distance of one another. I'm not going to discuss pricing in this video, as that changes, but I will provide a link to each of the wineries' websites in the description below, so you can check those out for the latest information before your visit. La Rioja Alta is absolutely one of the very best wineries to visit when you're in Haro. Founded way back in 1890, La Rioja Alta is a historic traditional producer, but they also embrace modern technology for some of their winemaking techniques. Interestingly, La Rioja Alta is one of the very few wineries that still produces their own oak barrels, and they do it right on site. La Rioja Alta also ages their wines for an extremely long time. For example, the 2016 vintage of their iconic 904 Gran Reserva is just now being released. The wines are stunning, layered, complex, structured, and built to last for decades, although they're also extremely enjoyable on release. Their prestige bottling, the 890 Gran Reserva, which is named after the year that they were founded, is one of the great wines in all of Spain, and their wines offer excellent quality for the price across the board. La Rioja Alta offers a variety of experiences, everything from guided tours and tastings to a wine bar where you can buy wine by the glass, and even private dining. So they should have an experience that fits your needs and your schedule. A visit to La Rioja Alta is a memorable experience. Historic cellars, genuine craftsmanship, and wines that will stay with you for long after the trip is over. Next up is Compania Vinicola del Norte de España, or CVNE for short. This historic producer was founded way back in 1879. They have numerous different brands, all under one roof. One of the most confusing things about CVNE is why their leading brand is Cune, or C-U-N-E, rather than CVNE. To get to the bottom of it, I asked their president this very question, and here's what he said.
CVNE, back in the day, and this is a brilliant story, and we sent our symbol, the CUNE crest with CVNE in it, some people to help us design a label for us in Spain. They said, "Oh, it must be a typo because you can't pronounce CVNE. You know, it's a V. It's a typo. It must be a U." So they did a label for us with the U, and they sent it back, and we said, "Oh, you got it wrong. It's not a U. It's a V. We're not paying you." But actually, you know what? It looks okay, so we'll stick with it. I think we paid them in the end, and we stuck with it. So it's a happy mistake.
CVNE is definitely one of the best wineries to visit in Rioja, at least in part because there should be something for everyone due to the incredible diversity and range of their lineup. As mentioned, they have a number of different brands, but even within the CUNE brand, their entry-level wines offer some of the best value in all of Rioja, but they also have some higher-end wines that will appeal to sophisticated collectors as well. For example, Imperial is a smaller production, prestige bottling that's produced only in exceptional vintages. This is a wine that will age incredibly well. For example, we had a tasting a couple years ago where we compared the 1964, 1994, and 2004 vintages of Imperial Gran Reserva, and all three were showing remarkably well. The 1964 still haunts me to this day, and provided a vivid reminder of why I first got so excited about wine collecting. CVNE also has a couple other brands worth mentioning, including Wineries and Contino. Both Wineries and Contino also have separate wineries that you can visit, but that would require a bit of a drive. The good news is that you can try their wines at the CVNE tasting room in Haro as well. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that CVNE has a number of outstanding white wines that I enjoy very much as well. CVNE has a wide range of experiences for visitors, including comprehensive tours and tastings. They opened a brand new tasting room within the last year or two, and it's an incredibly comfortable, well-done facility. There you can try the entire lineup of CVNE wines, and the good news is that they even have some expressions that have some additional age on them as well. Bodegas Muga is one of the favorites of my viewers on this channel, and it's another winery that's absolutely one of the best wineries to visit in Haro. Bodegas Muga is a historic family-owned producer. I visited Bodegas Muga in September, and the winery was bustling with activity since that was right in the middle of harvest. It's actually a fantastic time to visit Haro, as many of the wineries are still open to the public during that time. In addition to watching the winery receive the grapes from the vineyard that were just coming in that day, I was able to see the cooperage in action. Specifically, I watched them toasting some of the barrels, which is something that I hadn't really seen before. As with La Rioja Alta, Bodegas Muga is one of the very few wineries that produces their own barrels in-house. Muga has a diverse lineup of wines, so there should be something for everyone. It's worth noting that Muga's Reserva offers some of the best quality for the price in all of Rioja. But they also have some higher-end options, as well as a rosé and some white wines as well. Muga has a number of opportunities for comprehensive tours and tastings, but they also have a wine bar. So even if you don't have a reservation, you can visit the wine bar and order wine by the glass. It's worth noting that La Rioja Alta and Bodegas Muga are extremely close together, only about a 3-minute walk apart, and CVNE is only about a 5-minute walk from Bodegas Muga. So all three of these wineries are quite close together. If La Rioja Alta, Muga, and CVNE represent the traditional soul of Rioja, Bodegas Roda represents its modern face, and it's equally compelling. Bodegas Roda has a much more recent history. It was founded only about 40 years ago in 1986, but in that short time it's already developed a tremendous reputation for quality. Bodegas Roda has a number of high-quality vineyard sources, including a number of vineyards with some impressive old vines. Interestingly, they produce a lot of their wines based on flavor profile. For example, they have 2 different bottlings, one of which has more of a black fruit profile, and the other of which has more of a red fruit profile. In addition, they have a very special prestige bottling called Cercion. This wine has an interesting story, as a number of years ago, they discovered that when they were harvesting some of the fruit, there were some grapes that were incredibly high quality and which almost tasted like a finished wine, even in the vineyard when you're just tasting a grape. So every vintage, they now search their vineyards for this exceptional, elusive fruit and use it to produce Cercion. As with Muga, Roda's open during the harvest season as well, and it was interesting to watch them sorting through the fruit to make sure that only the highest quality fruit was included in the fermentation. Roda does a great job in terms of giving you lots of flexibility and lots of different options in terms of your experiences. In addition to tasting through their Rioja-based wines, they also have a property in Ribera del Duero, and you can even do some comparison tasting if you choose. They also have a wine bar. Roda is a fairly short walk from both Muga and La Rioja Alta, and in fact is located right next door to Lopez de Heredia. While we're on the subject of Lopez de Heredia, I should mention that that is definitely one of the most historic, impressive producers in all of Rioja, but unfortunately, their policy is to allow visits only for members of the wine trade. If you're in the wine trade, I highly recommend that you reach out to Lopez de Heredia well in advance of your visit to see if they will accommodate you. Even if you're in the wine business, you may not be able to visit Lopez de Heredia, especially during harvest, because they tend to close during that time period. While I was in Rioja the last time, it was during harvest, and even though I didn't visit Lopez de Heredia that time, I was able to watch them bring the grapes into the winery in the same traditional manner that they've been doing it for many decades. So even if you don't have a visit set up, it's sometimes worth going there just to take a look at the facility and see if anything is going on. Unfortunately, they do not have a wine bar option either, but they do have a store that's open every day and that will allow you to purchase some of their wines. It's very difficult to get the rosé and also their white wine, and so visiting this store is probably the best place to get those wines, although you may need to purchase some of the red wine to be able to get them. If this is your first time visiting Haro, there's a few things that you should know before you go. Haro definitely has an authentic Spanish feel. Despite the fact that they have a large number of visitors each year, it's not really touristy in the way that you'd expect. The old quarter is well worth exploring. It's a lot of fun to walk throughout the square. The dining scene is excellent, and there's extremely reasonable prices on wine at the restaurants. You should note, however, that the restaurants very much observe siesta, and they don't open for dinner until at least 7. This can cause some challenges if you're getting adjusted to a different time zone, so you should definitely keep that in mind when you go. For winery visits, definitely book ahead if you can. I try to book at least 2 months in advance, and preferably 3 months in advance, particularly if you're going to be visiting during a busy season like harvest. Most of the producers have options for booking directly on their websites, which I'll link below, so it's extremely easy to line up visits. Well, you should certainly feel free to book whatever winery experiences make you happy. Personally, I've found that it makes sense to have a mix of winery tours and tastings and wineries where I just go to visit the wine bar. Particularly with respect to the historic producers, some of the tours can be a little bit redundant. So oftentimes I might visit one of the historic producers and then a more modern producer like Roda, and then fill in the rest of the time with wine bar visits. Or if there's a winery that you weren't able to visit and you want to try some of the wines, you can definitely keep an eye out for the wines from that producer when you're ordering at restaurants. If you're arriving by plane, Bilbao is about 45 minutes away, and that's the closest airport. Bilbao is also an excellent city to visit in its own right, so if you're flying in, you may want to allow a day or two to visit that city as well. Personally, I found that it works well to go by train, and I'll typically go from a larger city like Madrid directly to Logroño, which is about 30 minutes away or so. So once I get to that train station, I'll just take a cab from there to Haro. If you'd like to learn more about the Rioja wine region, including the grapes, the history, the classification system, and much more, please be sure to check out this video where I do a Rioja deep dive. Consider it your pre-trip homework.